do here? Okay, we've got two of the same bases. Gonna highlight them. We have X as a base. And we have Y as a base. When you have like bases and you're multiplying those, you add the exponents. Okay, so let's just look at the X for a moment. The first one technically has a 1 with it, right? And the second one has a 2/5. So this is going to be X to the 1 plus 2/5 power. And if you go to your calculator, you can do 1 plus 2/5. This one. 1 plus, and then the shortcut is alpha y equals. Choose that first option. And that's 2/5. I'm going to try to delete that. Yeah. 7/5 should be your answer. Guys, off your phones. Should be on your phones right now. So we get 7/5. So that is your exponent here. So we have X raised to the 7/5 power. Now we still have to do the Y. The exponent with Y here is a 1/3. What is the exponent with the Y on this part? 1. So you're going to have Y to the 1/3 plus 1. Okay. A quick way to do this in your head, if you want to convert the number 1 to a fraction with a 3, you can say 3 out of 3, right? What is 1/3 plus 3/3? 4/3. So this is just going to be Y to the 4/3 power. Okay. Questions? Seven. So how do you do the next one? You have the same base. What do we do with the 1/2 and the 1/3? You add them. So if we're multiplying and we have the same base, we are going to add those exponents. We have 1/2 plus 1/3. Quickly go to your calculator. Alpha y equals, first option, 1/2 plus 1/3. And you should get 5/6. And you can just leave it like that. Who had issues with number 3? Okay, so when you see this parentheses and you have a power and then another power kind of above it, that's called power to a power. So this is when you are going to multiply the powers, not add. So let's just quickly multiply that. We have y, and then we have -3 times 1/6. If you do that, -3 times 1, that's just going to give you the fraction -3/6, which is just -1/2. But now what do? We don't want to leave it. We don't want to leave a negative exponent. Do you remember this basic rule? If you've got x to the -2 power, in order to get rid of that negative, you're going to make this a fraction. Well, you can make anything a fraction, right? But we're just going to move this to the bottom part of the fraction. So this becomes 1/x². That's how you eliminate the negative. For your warm-up question, it just happens to be a fraction. So this is just going to be 1/1 y to the 1/2 power. And I would leave it like that because, you know, you can technically say I would not count this wrong if you said y 1 over the square root of y, because that's technically what something, when it's to the 1/2 power, it's the square root. But because we started out with fractions and rational exponents, I'm going to keep it a rational exponent. Okay. All right. If you did not finish your quiz yesterday, please go out in the hallway. I want to go over just a few things from that quiz. Overall, I was pleased with how you did, but I just wanted to look at a few things that a lot of people missed. If I can find. Okay. I don't have the actual quiz here, but we're just going to talk about it. All right. So number 1 was false. When you solve that out, you get -6 as a solution, but -6 and +6, Brayden, are not the same thing. Guys, off your phone. Question 2 is just asking you, if you read the question, when solving the equation below, what do you raise both sides of the equation to? So we have x to the 4/3 equals 12 to the 4/3. To undo that rational exponent, you're going to raise everything to the reciprocal of that. So the answer was just 3/4. You didn't have to actually solve this. I wanted to know what power you're raising both sides of the equation to. Okay. Question 3, read carefully. It says, what is the first step in solving the equation below? Yeah. Add 22. That was the answer. Add 22 to both sides of the equation. On question 4, you should have gotten x equals 49. On question 5, we had x to the 2/3 power equals 16. So to undo that 2/3, you have to find the reciprocal, raise everything to that reciprocal, which is 3/2. Okay, that cancels. You have x, and then what do you notice about this bottom number?
It's even.
It's even.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have
two
solutions, a positive and a negative. So this should have been positive and negative 64. No, because I gave you a lot of resources yesterday. You had open notes and you could work with a partner.
Yeah, you should be.
All right, and look at question 6. Okay. Question 6, we have k to the negative 1/2 equals 9. Okay. To undo that, what is the reciprocal of negative 1/2? That's just -2/1. So we have k equals basically 9 raised to the -2 power. Okay. What is 9 squared? 81. Okay, so if we get rid of that negative and think about if we just had variables like we did in the warm-up, to get rid of this negative, it's going to be 1 over 9 squared. And you know that 9 squared is 81. Didn't even need your calculator. Okay. Number 7 was 36. X equals 36. Number 8, you had 2 solutions, positive or negative 27. Number 9 is 64. And 10 is 1 over 100. 1/100th. Any questions? Okay, so get out the notes for today. I'll let those people outside again. Sarah, did you have any questions? She's
No.
okay. I'm done. I can come back now. Make sure you get that turned in by tomorrow. Yeah, we can start listening. Okay, so I have some guided notes already filled out for you that gives you some examples of this. So today we're going to talk about solving radical equations with only one radical. We're used to solving equations with two radicals. Now we're going to look at solving equations with one radical. This is just a few examples I'm passing out right now. Braden, yours is in this stack. Hey, where is Jacob? At all? Set up. All right. If you look at the page I gave you, these are just in general, some guide, just a guide, some steps to do. You need to isolate the radical, use the opposite power to eliminate the radical. Step 3, solve the resulting equation. Step 4, check your answers. What's going to be a little bit different? So in Algebra 1, you had 1, 2-step, multi-step equations. You were encouraged to check your answer. When we get to these radical equations, you must check your answer because a lot of times some of the solutions are not going to work. Okay. And those are called extraneous solutions, or you could just say no solution. Okay, so let's look at an example. Here, we're going to follow the same pattern. We're going to isolate the radical. So Ryan, how would I isolate the radical here? I need to subtract 4 from both sides. That's where you start. So then we have, Sarah, can you still see my screen? Just a second.
Yeah.
Two minus 4 is -2. So how do we undo the radical? If it's raise both sides to what? You can say you cube both sides or you raise both sides to the third power. So that's what we're going to do here. Raise it to the third power. Okay. This is going to eliminate that radical. So on the left, we just have x minus 6. On the right, you're going to have -2 times -2 times -2, which is what? -8. Now what? Please don't get this wrong. Add 6. There you go.
That is so unfortunate. That's just resetting.
I don't. We're not out of the woods yet. Just take time. Do what you got to do. Sarah, are you still with me? Probably not.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay. We had a little power glitch. All right, so we're adding 6. I think it's something to do with my setup over here. Make sure that's. Okay, we get x equals -2. If I can keep going on the regular whiteboard if I have to. Okay. Now, it is imperative that you check to see if that solution works. So let's do that. We had in the original equation, you have 4 plus the cubed root of x. We're going to see if -2 works. -6 equals 2. Okay, so the cubed root of what is -2 minus 6? Ryan, guys, off your phone. That's just -8 equals 2. So 4 plus, what is the cubed root of -8? -2. Four plus -2 or 4 minus 2, is that 2? So yes, this worked out. Okay, try the next one on your own. Try the next one on your own. Remember, isolate the radical first. So there's a number in front of it. Got to figure out how to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. Hmm?
Do you have any grades?
All right, so Braden, how do I get this? What do I do to start off? No. This is technically saying -5 times the square root of 6x plus 4. So you are going to divide by -5. That's okay. So those cancel. You're left with the square root of 6x plus 4 equals -2. 10 divided by -5 is -2. Now we can square both sides. Okay, when you square both sides on the left, you are just left with what's underneath the radical, which is 6x plus 4. And then -2 squared is what? subtract 4. We have 6x equals 0. Divide by 6. You end up getting x is 0. Now what do I have to do now? I have to check to make sure it works. Plug in that solution. So we have -5 on the square root of 6 times x. We found x to be 0. We're going to see if that works. Plus 4 equals 10. Okay, what is 6 times 0? Okay, so this just ends up being the square root of 4 equals 10. What is the square root of 4? 2. What is -5 times 2? That's -10. Does that solution work? Is this a true statement?
Yes.
No. -10 is not the same thing as +10. So you would just put no solution. And that's going to happen. That's why you check. All right. Next example. We have already isolated that radical. So we are just going to square both sides now. This gives you -3x plus 10. And that gives you x squared. This is going to give you a quadratic. How do you solve a quadratic? Starts with an F. What have we been doing a lot of in Algebra 2?
Fractions.
Factoring. Okay, so to keep the x squared positive, I'm going to move the 3 into the -3x to the right, and I'm going to move the 10 to the right, so I can set up my quadratic. Okay, so we're going to have plus 3x and minus 10. Okay, so that's going to cancel out over here. We're going to have 0 on the left equals x squared plus 3x minus 10. Okay. So this goes back to, what are two numbers that multiply to give you -10 and add to give you a +3? So 1 and 10, one of them's got to be negative. 1 and -10, and then 2 times 5 gives you 10, and then make one of those negative. So -1 plus 10. I know you can probably see the answer right away, but I'm just going through this because some people missed me teaching factoring. Okay, so -1 plus 10 gives you 9. 1 minus 10 gives you -9. 2 minus 5 gives you -3. -2 plus 5 gives you a +3. That's the combination we're looking for. -2 times +5 is going to give you a -10 when you multiply. When you add those together, -2 plus 5, that's going to give you a +3. So when you factor this, you know x times x is x squared. So this is just going to factor as x minus 2 times x plus 5. Now you have to set those factors equal to 0 and solve. When you do that, here when you set this equal to 0, you're going to get x equals 2. Here you're going to get x equals -5. Question so far? Okay. So now what do you think I have to do? I have to check both of these. Okay. I know. So plug them in, see if they both work. Right. so we have the square root of negative 3x plus 10 equals x. I'm gonna write this twice. Oh well. I tried to make it pink. Didn't like it. Okay, so we found x to be 2 and negative 5. If I weren't recording this, I'd say some very bad words. Okay, do this on your own. Do this on your own. I'm just gonna, I quit using the whiteboard. I quit. Sarah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
2 ends up working, and then negative 5 does not.
Okay.